When studying history, at some point you will discover that wars were an inevitable part of the world's history, and that a lot of key events are related to these wars. That is why it is important that, when learning about the world wars, you make sure to get all the accurate information. Especially for a war like World War II, it is crucial to have only correct information to fully understand the W's and how's of it. Hi there, welcome to our channel. For this video, we'll be learning about one of the most important events in our world history, World War II. Perhaps you have an idea or two about this war, but you never really understood why it started. If that's the case, then we got you. Before we get started, why don't you comment down below what is your personal knowledge about World War II? Now let's begin discussing what started World War II. World War II, the most extensive and deadliest war in human history, took place on land, sea, and air, across almost every corner of the globe. Also referred to as the Second World War, it was triggered partly by the economic hardships of the Great Depression and lingering unresolved political tensions from the aftermath of World War I. The economic situation was dire, with soaring unemployment rates and rampant inflation leading to a significant devaluation of currency. Over 50 nations globally were engaged in the conflict, deploying a staggering number of over 100 million soldiers. Among these nations, America and Britain aligned themselves with the Allied powers, while Japan and Germany sided with the Axis powers. So, let's backtrack a bit and try to understand first what situation each key country was in before entering World War II. In 1919, representatives from more than 24 countries met in France to create peace agreements ending World War I. However, the losing side, especially Germany, was not allowed to participate, causing resentment. The winners, led by the United States, France, and the United Kingdom, decided the terms of peace without input from Germany. President Woodrow Wilson of the United States wanted lasting global peace and proposed the 14 points, which included creating an international group called the League of Nations for collective security. This plan also promoted arms reduction, free trade, and self-determination, allowing people to decide their own political future. On the other hand, French Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau, fearing a strong Germany near France, aimed for a harsher deal to weaken Germany. After long negotiations, the Treaty of Versailles was signed. It made Germany accept blame for the war, lose colonies and land, limit its military, and pay reparations to the victors. Germans back home were furious and protested, seeing the terms as unfair and humiliating. Adolf Hitler, the leader of the Nazi Party, vowed to overturn the treaty, gaining support with this promise. After taking control of Germany in 1933, Hitler quickly concentrated power in his hands, declaring himself the supreme leader in 1934. He was obsessed with the idea of the superiority of the so-called pure German race, which he referred to as Aryan. Hitler believed that war was the only way for the German race to expand and gain the necessary living space, or Lebensraum. In the mid-1930s, he secretly started rearming Germany, breaking the rules set by the Versailles Treaty that ended World War I. He formed alliances with Italy and Japan against the Soviet Union and, in 1938, sent troops to occupy Austria. The following year, he annexed Czechoslovakia. Despite his aggressive actions, no one stopped Hitler because the United States and the Soviet Union were focused on their own internal issues, and France and Britain, still recovering from World War I, were not ready for a confrontation. Meanwhile, Japan had been growing increasingly frustrated with its international standing for years. In 1919, Japanese representatives had sought acknowledgement of racial equality in the Treaty of Versailles, but were denied. Discriminatory laws in Western countries targeted Japanese immigrants. Many in Japan felt that the post-World War I international system favored Westerners in accessing wealth and resources. Japan had long aimed to expand its imperial power. Taiwan became its first colony in 1895, and Japan acquired more territories over time. In 1931, Japan invaded China's Manchuria region, creating a buffer against Soviet communism and gaining access to vital natural resources. This invasion, followed by a larger conflict in 1937, escalated into a full-scale war between Japan and China, marking the initial stages of the Second World War. What are your thoughts so far about the history of these countries? Tell us in the comments below. Now, let's move forward to when the events further escalated to a more concerning level. In late August 1939, Hitler and Soviet leader Joseph Stalin made a deal called the German-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact. This made people in London and Paris very worried. Hitler wanted to attack Poland, to which Great Britain and France had promised to help Poland if it was attacked by Germany. The pact with Stalin meant Hitler wouldn't have to fight both the Soviet Union and Western countries if he attacked Poland. He also had Soviet help in taking over and dividing Poland. On September 1, 1939, Hitler invaded Poland from the west. 2 days later, France and Britain declared war on Germany, starting World War II. On September 17th, Soviet soldiers entered Poland from the east. With attacks coming from both sides, Poland was quickly defeated. By early 1940, Germany and the Soviet Union had split control of the country according to a secret agreement attached to the Non-Aggression Pact. Stalin's forces also moved to occupy the Baltic states, which are Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and defeated Finland in the Russo-Finnish War. In the 6 months following the Polish invasion, there was little action from Germany and the Allies in the West, leading to the media calling it a phony war. However, intense naval battles occurred between the British and German navies at sea. German U-boat submarines attacked merchant ships heading to Britain, sinking over 100 vessels in the first 4 months of World War II. By early 1941, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria had joined forces with Germany, and in April of that year, German troops conquered Yugoslavia and Greece. Hitler's control over the Balkans was a stepping stone for his main goal, invading the Soviet Union. He believed that seizing the vast Soviet territory would provide the necessary living space, or Lebensraum, for his idea of a superior German race. Another part of his plan involved the systematic extermination of Jews across German-occupied Europe. The blueprint for this, known as the Final Solution, was introduced around the time of the Soviet offensive. Over the next 3 years, more than 4 million Jews would perish in the death camps set up in occupied Poland. On June 22, 1941, Hitler gave the order for Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Despite the Soviets having more tanks and aircraft, their technology was outdated. The surprise attack allowed the Germans to advance within 200 miles of Moscow by mid-July. Disagreements between Hitler and his commanders delayed the German advance until October. However, their progress was halted by a Soviet counteroffensive and the arrival of severe winter weather. When Britain was already fighting Germany in Europe, the United States was the only country capable of opposing Japan, which had expanded its war efforts by late 1941, fighting China and taking over European territories in the Far East. On December 7, 1941, 360 Japanese aircraft unexpectedly attacked the major U.S. naval base in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, catching Americans off guard and resulting in the loss of over 2,300 lives. This attack united American public opinion, leading Congress to declare war on Japan on December 8th with almost unanimous support, prompting Germany and other Axis powers to declare war on the United States. After a series of Japanese victories, the U.S. Pacific Fleet achieved a significant win in the Battle of Midway in June 1942, marking a turning point. In the southern Solomon Islands, particularly on Guadalcanal, the Allies succeeded against Japanese forces in battles from August 1942 to February 1943, further shifting the balance in the Pacific. By mid-1943, Allied naval forces launched a strong counterattack on Japan, involving assaults on key Japanese-held islands in the Pacific. This successful island-hopping strategy brought Allied forces closer to their main goal, invading mainland Japan. On June 6, 1944, known as D-Day, the Allies launched a huge invasion of Europe. They landed 156,000 soldiers from Britain, Canada, and the United States on the beaches of Normandy, France, In response, Hitler moved his remaining army to Western Europe, weakening Germany's defenses in the east. Soviet troops quickly advanced into countries like Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Romania. Meanwhile, Hitler concentrated his forces to push back American and British troops from Germany in the Battle of the Bulge, the last major German attack of the war, which took place from December 1944 to January 1945. In February 1945, a massive aerial bombardment paved the way for the Allies' ground invasion of Germany. By the time Germany surrendered on May 8th, Soviet forces had taken control of much of the country. Hitler had already died, having committed suicide on April 30th in his bunker in Berlin. 2 months after Germany surrendered, leaders from the Allied nations gathered in Potsdam, Germany, to discuss peace agreements. Even though the fighting in Europe had ceased, the war was ongoing in the Pacific. On July 26, 1945, the United States, China, and Britain demanded Japan's unconditional surrender. President Harry Truman decided to drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6 and 9. Due to concerns about the high casualties that a land invasion of Japan might cause, the immense destruction caused by the bombs prompted the Japanese government to announce its acceptance of the Potsdam Declaration on August 15th. The formal end of the war occurred on September 2, 1945, when U.S. General Douglas MacArthur accepted Japan's surrender. Unlike World War I, where most of the people who died were soldiers, World War II was different. In this war, civilians, or regular people, died 3 times more than soldiers. This change happened because airplanes could now bomb cities and towns far away from the battlefield. Also, one of World War II's particularly terrifying aspects was the Nazis' systematic murder of 6 million Jews, known as the Holocaust. This atrocity also included the mass killing of 11 million people in total, including gay individuals, Roma people, those with disabilities, and others considered inferior by the Nazis. In total, the war claimed the lives of 45 million civilians due to widespread mass killings, starvation, and diseases. World War II not only shaped the modern world with its international institutions promoting free trade, human rights, and collective security, but also introduced the potential for catastrophic destruction, marking the beginning of the nuclear weapons era. What are your final thoughts after learning about World War II so far? Do you think that this war could have been inevitable? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. If this video has helped you learn about World War II, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching.